Hi everyone, my name is Kaitlyn and I'm the Garden Operations Assistant for SJSU's Campus Community Garden. Today, I'm going to give you a little introduction to container gardening. The first step in container gardening is figuring out what plants you want to grow. Super exciting. Pretty much anything can grow in a container garden, but for bigger plants you're going to need a bigger pot to be able to give it enough nutrients as well as help distribute the weight evenly so that it doesn't become top heavy and fall over. So once you figure out what you want to grow, then you need to figure out, does it need to be directly seeded or can it be transplanted from a seedling into a bigger pot? And so root vegetables like beets, carrots, radishes, potatoes, and then also bees, anything in the bean and pea family are going to need to be directly seeded into the pot. But eggplant, tomatoes, zucchini, those things can be transplanted. So I just want to show you on the back of a seed packet, if you've never planted seeds before, the back of the seed packet has a lot of helpful information about how far apart to space the seeds, how deep to plant them. So if you're ever like, I don't know what I'm doing, just look at the back of the seed packet. It should help you out a lot. And then as far as containers go, there's so many options that you can use. You can use plastic, you could use ceramic, you could use wood. I just have a variety or a couple to show you. You can also go to like a thrift store and see if they have anything. You just want to make sure it has good drainage holes and that the size is right. So we've got also a fabric grow bag, and these are cool because it doesn't have drainage holes, but it's able to drain through the fabric, and then it can fold up. So if you live in a small space, it's really easy to store. It has handles, it's cheap. And then just for reference, this is about the size needed to grow 1 tomato plant or 2 pepper plants. It's about 16 inches in diameter. And then got a good old-fashioned milk crate here, and for this it has a lot of drainage holes, and so if you're going to use a milk crate, I would just recommend putting it in a shady spot or checking on the plant frequently and making sure that it's not drying out too quickly. And that's really important because if the roots of the plant dry out, then they'll die. So as far as the height of your pot goes, smaller plants don't need as much room for their roots to grow, like radishes or lettuce. Those will be fine with only a few inches of soil, but something bigger like a tomato would need about 8 to 10 inches at least. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing a pot. So as far as lighting goes, plants need about 6 hours of good sunlight per day. So if you're only going to be able to grow inside, I would recommend growing things like herbs, leafy greens, maybe radishes. Those will do okay inside, but something like a tomato plant, unfortunately, probably won't get enough sunlight unless you have like a really sunny window. I would recommend growing bigger things that have a lot more foliage outside on either like a patio, or if you have a windowsill that you could put them on. That's going to be ideal to give them enough sunlight to grow into big plants that produce food you can eat. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is soil. Super important because the soil is pretty much where the plant's going to get all of its nutrients from. So you want to get a good one. So when you go to the store, you're going to look for a bag of potting soil or potting mix. The brand that I like to use is Kellogg. I really like this. I use it for all the plants pretty much in the campus community garden. It's great. I prefer to buy organic just because I use organic gardening practices, but there's other ones out there as well. So you can just experiment because gardening is all about experimenting. The only things to keep in mind is you don't want to buy topsoil, and you don't want to just go dig up some soil from the ground because neither of those are going to provide all the nutrients that the plants will need to grow. So yet another important part of gardening is giving your plants the right amount of water. So for outdoor plants, they're probably going to need to be watered at least daily. If they're in a super sunny spot, they might even need twice a day. And then indoor plants will only need to be watered probably every 2 to 3 days, depending on how much sunlight they're getting. But just remember that indoor plants are not being exposed to the elements as much, and so that's why they need less watering. The best way to tell if your plants need more water is to feel the soil. So you can dig your finger about an inch deep, and if it feels damp or wet, then it doesn't need more soil or more water, but if it feels dry, then it needs more. And this is a lot of it, this is trial and error, and so after a few times you'll start to get the hang of it, and like I said, gardening is all about experimenting.